Okay, so metaverse. It's one of those words you hear everywhere now, right? It's supposed to be the next big thing, the future of the internet. But what on earth does that actually mean? And should we be excited about it or maybe a little bit worried? Well, let's get into it and try to make sense of it all. So, just for a second, I want you to imagine this. You're sitting at home, you put on a headset, and boom, you're somewhere else. You're in a meeting with your colleagues, you're hanging out with your friends, you're shopping for groceries, but it's all happening inside this completely artificial, three-dimensional world. Is that really where we're headed? To figure out where this is all going, we really need to start with the basics. So let's break down what the metaverse even is. You'll see how it went from a wild idea in a sci-fi novel to a multi-billion-dollar mission for some of the biggest companies on the planet. The name itself actually gives us a pretty big clue. Metaverse is just two words mashed together. You've got meta, which is Greek for beyond, and verse, which is just short for universe. So literally, it means a universe beyond our own, an artificial world that we can step into and explore. So what makes this any different from the internet we already have? Well, the key difference is the jump from 2D to 3D. Right now, you look at the internet on a flat screen. In the metaverse, the whole idea is that you're inside of it. So instead of watching a cricket match on your laptop, you'd feel like you're actually sitting in the stadium with a full 360-degree view of everything. Now, what's so fascinating here is that this whole idea didn't start in some Silicon Valley boardroom. The word metaverse was actually invented back in 1992 in a pretty dark sci-fi novel called Snow Crash. After that, you had early versions pop up in games like Second Life, the movie Avatar made digital avatars a huge thing, and then, of course, Facebook changed its name to Meta, betting its entire future on this concept. Okay, a fully immersive digital universe? That sounds incredibly ambitious. So what kind of tech do you even need to build something like that? Well, it's not just one magic invention. It's actually a whole bunch of different technologies that all have to come together and work perfectly. So for starters, you need virtual and augmented reality just to see and interact with this world. Then you need a super fast internet connection, like 5G, to process all that data instantly. And if you want a real economy in there, you need stuff like cryptocurrency to buy things and NFTs to act as, digital proof that you actually own your virtual stuff, whether it's a plot of land or a concert ticket. So how close are we to this future? Well, that really depends on who you ask. Mark Zuckerberg thinks some of the main features could be mainstream in the next 5 to 10 years. But a lot of other experts in the field are way more skeptical. They think it could take decades before we have anything close to a real working metaverse. And that uncertainty leads us to a really, really important part of this conversation. Because it's not just about the technology. There's this huge gap between all the corporate hype and, well, what people in the real world actually want. I mean, this is the elephant in the room, isn't it? The tech sounds cool and futuristic, but does anyone really want this? Do we honestly want to start replacing our real-world interactions with virtual ones? History is just littered with hyped-up technologies that failed because nobody stopped to ask that simple question. Remember Google Glass? Back around 2014, it was supposed to be the next big thing. And it just failed spectacularly. Why? Because it didn't really solve a problem anyone had. Anything you could do with Google Glass was just easier to do by pulling your phone out of your pocket. It was a solution looking for a problem. And 3D TVs tell the exact same story. That whole trend came and went in a flash because the hassle of wearing special glasses and getting a headache wasn't worth it for a slightly different picture. The tech that really succeeds is the stuff that makes our lives simpler, not more complicated. And the metaverse, with its clunky headsets, seems to be ignoring that lesson completely. But look, the problems with the metaverse go way beyond it just being inconvenient or unpopular. There are some much deeper, much more serious concerns here that we really have to talk about. This right here is the big promise, the utopian sales pitch, a world with no limits where you can do and be anything you can possibly imagine. It sounds amazing, right? But what's the potential price we'd have to pay to live in a world like that? Well, that price could be staggering. Think about it. In a world owned by just one company, every single move you make, every word you say could be tracked for advertising. The social media bubbles that already divide us could become entire virtual worlds. The company that owns it all would have almost godlike control. And of course, there's the huge risk that people just detach from reality entirely, escaping into a perfect, addictive, fake world. And this is where we have to remember where the idea came from. Snow Crash wasn't a happy story. It was a dystopia. It was about a world where real life had basically collapsed, and people were forced to escape into a virtual reality run by corporations. It was meant to be a warning, not a business plan. So what's the final verdict here? Is all of this tech just bad? No, not necessarily. Augmented reality, for example, could be incredible for professionals. Think architects, engineers, or surgeons all working with 3D models in the real world. That could be a game changer. The real problem is this grand, all-consuming vision for our social lives. Look, some version of the metaverse is probably on its way. The technology is moving forward, whether we're ready or not. So the real question isn't if it's going to happen. The question we need to be asking is who gets to decide what it looks like, who gets to make the rules, and who's going to make sure that this next universe is built for all of us and not just for the companies that own it.